Welcome to the Squeaky Wheel Farm. Hi, I'm Christine, and I'm back here today to tell you that it's time to tap the trees. Now, this is one of my most favorite activities for the winter time, and that's just because I just really enjoy boiling down that sap and getting all that delicious maple syrup. Come along with me and let me show you how we get that done. Now, before we get started, there's some supplies that you're going to want to gather. I've got some 5-gallon buckets with lids, hole drilled in the top. I've got the hoses, which we used last year, so we'll be using them again. They've all been cleaned and washed. New this year, I'm going to try a 5-gallon water jug. Now, there's a couple downfalls with that, and I'm concerned that that it might have a greenhouse effect and keep my sap too warm. And then the other thing is they're not really stackable. So I'm thinking that I might store maybe some water in there, just additional water throughout the rest of the year, but I'm not quite sure. So we'll see how this goes. I've only got one of these, and I will make the investment to buy a few more if this works the way I hope it does. In addition to some extra buckets, we've got a cordless drill and a hammer to tap the taps in. They're also called Spiles. And in this bucket here, where I've got everything collected, I've got 2 different kinds of spiles. Now, this is the spile that I used originally, and it's just you tap it into the tree and then hang the bucket from the hook. And these are the spiles that I've gone to. We tried them new, I think last year or maybe the year before were the first years that I've used them, and I really like these. Everything that I've purchased has been stainless steel, so it's reusable. Although you can get plastic ones, and there's also some maple syrup bags that you can get, which I've never tried, but if you prefer to use that instead of the buckets, that might be a cheaper option for you. I have a couple of dogs, and I think that once they tasted maple syrup and figured out it came from those bags, they wouldn't last very long. The drill bit that we're using today is a 5/16, and we've got it taped off to 2 inches, so we will not go any deeper than that. And we're going to drill on an upward angle, approximately 45 degrees. Let's show you how we do it. Now, if you can see here, the tree is healed over. That was one several years ago. Here's another one that was several years ago. Another one that's an old tap. It does not hurt the tree. Looks like this one is a really, really old one. The way you can tell is because it's perfectly round. It looks like here's an old one too. So you can tell this is a really large tree, and it can sustain probably 3 taps. But we usually only make 1 or 2 in it, but we'll see what we do this year. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is when you've got old spots where you've tapped, you want to stay at least 6 inches away from those. And you want to tap at least 2 or 3 feet off the ground. You don't want it really low to the ground. So another thing I wanted to mention is you want to be drilling on the sunny side of the tree. For us, that's on the south side. So you saw what he did with the drill. He pulled it out to pull off some of that wood pulp and then reinserted. So you're basically cleaning out the hole. And that's all you have to do. And then it's just a matter of pushing that hose onto the spile and then putting it into the lid of the bucket, which has got a hole drilled in it.
Something else we were having a problem with before, and I didn't realize it. When I put the hose in the bucket, I was sticking it all the way down. When I stick it all the way down, it has a tendency to want to curl back up, and then everything just puddles right here, or pools. So now I just make sure it's in, and I've got enough of a downward slope, and that way it does not curl up in that little loop. Because last year when I did it with these buckets, I couldn't figure out why it wasn't filling up, and then I looked in there and I saw that they'd all curled up, and it was hampering, at least in my eyes, it was hampering the drainage out of this.
Now, what we've done in the past is we've collected a bunch of milk jugs, and as we're getting the sap from these trees, we pour it into milk jugs, and then depending on when we're going to do the boiling, we'll either put it in the refrigerator or in the freezer. Typically, I only put my sap in the refrigerator for about 3 days. So if it's going to be longer than that, I put it into old milk jugs or Hawaiian punch jugs, and we freeze it until we get enough to do a boil. Okay, so aside from gathering all my supplies, washing up my buckets and washing the hoses, the part that I did outside really didn't take more than maybe 15 minutes. When Paul was drilling the trees and putting the hoses on, that went very quickly. Now, if you aren't aware, the time to tap the trees is when the weather gets above freezing during the daytime and then drops below freezing at night. For my area, that's usually in February, but it can vary by a lot, so pay attention to your weather forecasts. And then the next thing you're probably wondering is, well, how long do you collect the sap? And that, again, can vary by a lot. Now, there's been years where we've had several weeks where we were able to collect sap. And there have been other years where it warmed up very quickly and the sap turned bitter. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And also hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That helps my numbers in YouTube. And I really appreciate it. So thank you. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Oh, and one more thing. I hope to see you again soon.